Hello friends, welcome back to my channel again. Today we are going to see about all the books that I read from the month of July till basically now, let's say October. I had been posting 3-month reading wrap up from this year starting, and this second part of the year was a bit hectic for me. I did not read that much. In the first half of the year, I read 60 books, which was insane for me. And in the second half, I got a bit busy with work and stuff and traveling, and a lot of things were happening. So I got busy and I read 12 books till now, till the month of October from July. This is going to be based on the urge of me want to talk about a book, not based on the book that I read first. So let's grab the books that I read recently, and I'm dying to talk about them first, and let's take it from there. The first book that I want to talk to you about is a book that I was dying to read, and it got released this September. I pre-ordered it months before, and when it finally came, I devoured it within a week, or basically a week, and that book is The Secret of Secrets by Dan Brown. If you know who Dan Brown is, you might be knowing that he hasn't come out with a thriller book basically for 8 years now. I used to be a huge fan for Dan Brown books. I used to love Robert Langdon as a character. Robert Langdon is basically someone who solves mysteries. He's a symbologist. His books are mostly science, history, and mystery thriller combined, which is my favorite genre. And Dan Brown does it really, really well. Many of his books were devoured by me within 2 days or 3 days. Once I pick it up, I can never put it down. All his books have a compulsive, uh, you know, um, they convince you to pick it up, and they convince you to read it again, and they convince you to not put it down. It's such kind of books he always writes. So I was naturally very, very excited when this book got released, and I immediately picked it up. And the moment I received it, I started reading it. I was so happy to be back with Robert Langdon as a character, and the world and the thrill, and every chapter ending up with a mystery. And that part of this book was promising, and it delivered. I had fun reading this with the thriller aspect. It kept me on hold for a lot of moments, and I was really happy that it is delivering what I was expecting. That being said, this is not a bad book, but the thing that I mostly enjoy with Robert Langdon books is how precise his science is. His books deals with lot of edge of the technology science discoveries, and he explains it so beautifully, so scientifically, so true to the fact in many of his books. But this book was more like pseudoscience for me. I take science very, very seriously. I love science. I love reading science books, and I cannot tolerate pseudoscience. But this spoke a lot of speculation, and he is believing that to be true. Sadly, he did not write it as a fiction. He's believing that is true. And I watched one of his interviews with Brian Greene. It was a 1 hour interview. I watched it and I felt like it was very shallow. He's just pushing his belief into the books more than what the science, what the fact actually is. So that was kind of disappointing. Because it spoke about a lot of pseudoscience in it, I could not enjoy the overall plot of this book. And it was so hard for me to read that parts where Robert Langdon is also agreeing with that kind of pseudoscience. When Robert Langdon agrees, it's like Robert Langdon approved kind of thing. So he's expecting us to also, approve the kind of science that pseudoscience that he's delivering us. So that part was very, very disappointing. That being said, again, there was a plot twist in this book which I did not expect, did not see it coming, and that took me by surprise. And I was like, wow, this is why I read Robert Langdon. This is why I read Dan Brown books. This is what I need from a Dan Brown book. That came after third quarter of the book. That came in the third quarter of the book, which was really took me by surprise. By that time, I had already given up all the hope on this book. I had already decided this is not my favorite Robert Langdon book, and it's still not my favorite Langdon book, but that plot twist, it just took me by surprise, and that was the best part of this book. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So I'm giving you a mixed review. Take it what you will, but it had good things and bad things, and I gave it 3 stars. And nonetheless, I was really glad to see Robert Langdon again. read for yourself and form your opinion. That would be my advice. The next book that I read is also a new release. I have been dying to read it this year. It got released during June or July something, but I was waiting for the price of this book to drop. Then my friend gifted me this, so I had to pick up, and that is called the Silverborn. This is the book number 4 in the Nevermore series. That is a middle grade fantasy series. If you don't know, it is wonderful. You should check that out. You really have to check that out because it gives all the cozy and happy vibes. It's much more similar to Harry Potter, and it follows a girl called Morrigan Crow, and she is destined to die on her 11th birthday. And there comes a man who's called Jupiter North, and he just takes her off on her 11th birthday and introduces her to a different world called Brontë Society, and she has to get into a lot of trials and she has to get into a school for magical kids, and she has some abilities, and it is all so good, and the world is so cozy and comforting. That is my comfort read. Nevermore series is my comfort read, and this 4th installment took way too longer to publish than it actually should have, because the 3rd book ended like 3 or 4 years ago, and finally it came out, and oh my God, was it so beautiful and so comforting to get into the world again, to meet Morrigan Crow, to meet Jupiter North, to meet Jack, to meet Finn, the cat, the giant cat. Everything was so good. If you haven't read the series, please do check it out. And this book was so good. I just can't explain how it made me feel. It is a bit different from the first 3 books. It follows a murder mystery rather than mostly fantastical things. So it was a little bit different. Don't go into this book expecting it to be like the other 3 books, which will be disappointing for you. But I had known it previously that it's going to be a murder mystery, so I enjoyed it thoroughly. I gave it 5 stars. I did not like the ending pretty much, but still, I'm so happy that it got released and I had my hands on it and I finally read it. The next book is easily the best book that I read this year. It's not even fiction. It's a non-fiction book, a tribe who's being killed for money. And that is like the best thriller book that I ever read in my entire life. And it's not even fiction. I'm talking about Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann. And I don't know where to start from talking about this book. It's wild. It's tense. It's thrilling. It's more thrilling than a thriller book. The real life is more terrifying, scary than an actual thriller horror book. This is about real people who would go to any extent to get money. My God, the way this book has been narrated, and it's just I don't know, I don't even have words. This is the best book that I ever read in my entire life. This follows a group of people who belong to the tribe called Osage, and they are given a land by the US government to stay. They are being shifted from different place, and they are given a land, and in that land they get oil. So that land cannot be sold or bought. That is getting transferred from as a family heirloom. Like it will be transferred to their son or daughters, and they can only be lent as a lease, not bought or sold. So they have all the rights for the land. So naturally they become very rich, insanely rich, but they cannot spend the money. That is how the government's rules are. So they lease the land to the American people. This book also talks about the birth of FBI. Actually, there was a group called Bureau of Investigation, and it was turned into Federal Bureau of Investigation just to investigate the Osage murders, and that is how the FBI formed. And this is a detailed explanation of how the murders happened and how they exploded, and the point where you get revealed by the murder, it is like, oh my God, did I just read that? Did it just happen? And every time I was like gasping, oh my God, did it just happen? Did I just read that? It was that kind of a thrilling experience to read a non-fiction book. It was very unique and new for me to have. Most of the non-fiction books are straight to the point, and they are boring, or they are like dry. More than boring, it is dry. But this was like keeping me at the edge of the seat every time. Each chapter was revealing something, and it was even better than the Scorsese's movie on the same title. I was so impressed by this book, then I went right into watching that movie. The movie did not give justice for this book. The book is much more, 10 times more brilliant than the movie that is made. Although, watch the trailer. Trailer is so beautiful rather than watching the movie. But read this book. You'll just have the time of your life. Read this book. I highly recommend you to check this one out. The next book that I want to talk to you about is a book that I already spoke about in my fall book recommendations, I think, and this is my first ever reading Stephen King book, and it is called The Outsider. And it is about a murder that has happened, and the police catches the killer. There are a lot of eyewitness for that, and it seems that the killer was somewhere else during the time of murder, but there are overwhelming evidence that he was also there in the place of murder happened. So they are confused, they are uh, doubting their own judgment, and they have to leave him free because they don't have enough evidence. He was there at the same time in two places, which was insane for them, and they are trying to solve this case. It is a unique story with a twist of horror to it, and it has a pacing that is really brilliantly made. It was very slowly paced in the beginning and slowly builds up the tense. And in some places, I was like freaked out. Oh my God, what is happening? That's the kind of reaction that was that I was giving to this book. It was really good, and it resembled and it is reminding me a lot of a plot resemblance with a movie called The Wailing, which is a Korean movie. That is a brilliantly made horror suspense movie. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. And it has a little bit resemblance to this book. It was so good. And I think there is a character called Holly in this. There is a character called Holly, and she is a detective. She comes into this case halfway point in this book and helps them solve it. I think Stephen King has written a series of books where Holly has a detective, and I think it would be fun to read it. This is the first Holly book, I think. If I'm not wrong, please correct me. And I had so much fun reading Stephen King, and I intend to read a lot from him. But he writes a lot of thicker books, which I'm not a big fan of big books just in 2025, because the one book that I started reading from the January 1st of this year, I haven't finished it yet. That's The Count of Monte Cristo, by the way, but let's hope I read chunkier books maybe next year. The next two books are classics, and the first one is a Tolstoy book, and it's a very short book called Family Happiness. I wanted to read War and Peace, which is not happening very soon. I don't know when it's going to happen, not even next year. I'm afraid of scared and kind of allergic to chunky books right now. But short books are my jam this year. I've read so many short books and I love them. This is one of it. The Family Happiness is about a girl called Masha, a 17-year-old girl who marries a 45-year-old guy called Sergei. And the difference between them is what the story is about, the age gap, the way they look at life, the way they look at the meaning of life, the fun, everything, and it's really good. The 45-year-old guy is obviously done living of his prime life, and now he wants to settle down, have a quiet life, but she is just entering the society. She wants to explore things. She wants to learn new things. She wants to make new friends. She wants to gather experiences. And this difference is leading them to go apart and lose their love. And what happens next is what this book is about. It's an important take on marriage. It's an important take on life. I just adore how Tolstoy's mind's working, and I think I should read a lot more Tolstoy books. This was just the sample I needed to motivate me to read more Tolstoy. The next book was in my TBR for a long time. I wanted to read this book. I have known this tale loosely from childhood. There are a lot of adaptations in Tamil, in English, and a lot of uh, references in pop culture, and a lot of people have talked about this book. So I wanted to read it for a very long time. I've known myself to be a reader, but this was the year, and I finally read this 550 pages long Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë. I'm so glad I have befriended Jane now, because she's a brilliant kid, and she's simple, she's unique, she's loving, she's caring, and she's standing her point no matter what happens. She's standing up for herself. I love Jane as a character, but I did not love Mr. Rochester as a character. I think Jane would deserve more. I don't think Rochester deserves Jane. I'm blabbering about this book even without saying what this book is about. It's about Jane, okay? She is going as a governess to a mansion to teach a kid. That mansion is owned by Mr. Rochester. They both meet each other and they fall for each other. But Mr. Rochester is having a secret of his own, and he's being manipulative. He's keeping secrets from her, but he wants to marry her. And at the time of marriage, she finds out what the secret is, and it's wild. The secret is wild, and there are a lot of things that are happening. And what happens next is all this book is about. It is the perfect Gothic book because it has mansion, it has atmosphere, it has airiness, it has suspenseful subplots. It's really good. I think you should read it if you like dark and Gothic literature, and it's that time of this year. You should pick this one up. You will love it. You will hate Mr. Rochester, but you will love Jane. I loved Jane Eyre, and I gave it 5 stars, even though I think that there are some toxic traits in the romance in this book. But let it go. It's been 200 years, so obviously there are going to be some problem in it, and I loved it so much. I hope you read it and enjoy it. Do let me know if what your thoughts are about Jane Eyre. The next book that I read is a YA book called I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. Jandy Nelson? Yeah. This is about two people, Jude and Noah. They are twins, one girl and one boy. And it's about their teenage life. It's about exploring things. It's about exploring their identity. And they have lost their mother, and they have difficult relationship with their father, and they're figuring out their way in society. This is a really good story about grief, about people who have lost people, about people who are trying to re-establish their relationship with the other parent who have lost their partner. It's kind of difficult topics, but it's done really good. I felt every piece of what Jude and Noah must have felt, and at the end of the story, how it all folds out, it was really beautifully written. It's one of the best YA books that I've read so far. I am not a fan of YA books because they don't generally speak to me, but this one was really good. I hope you check this one out, and I highly recommend you to read it. It's really good. It's very summary. It's all happens in the summer vacation or something like that. It's about friendship, it's about sibling bondage. All those things are explored, and this is a really nice one. The next book that I want to talk to you about is also a new release that released this year, and that is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm smiling because I read her last book, Carrie Soto is Back, and I gave it 1 star. Just because I did not understand the sports in it. I'm not a sports girly. I don't watch sports. I don't enjoy sports. So that was very boring for me. Nonetheless, the writing was very good, but the story did not keep me on hold. On the other hand, this book is about space, and I love space. I love astronomy. I constantly read science based on astronomy. I read particle physics. I read physics. I'm very much an astronomy girly. So this was literally a 5 star for me because I enjoyed the space description, everything, and it's you have to know that this book is divided into 3 parts. One is the space aspect of the story, where the lead character is an astronaut, and the second one is about her love life, and the third one is about her relationship with the lead character, and her niece, where her sister is very neglectful, parenting. Where her sister is a neglectful parent, she creates a wonderful bond with her niece. I loved that part. I loved her love life, and I also loved the space program description and the way they go to space. It is set in 1950s, 1950s or 60s. Just for there are no women in the space programs. These are the first women who are going into the space NASA explorations and expeditions. So it is the tense between women and men who are going to work together for the first time in space agency, and that is very well done. She has done very good homework for that. She has included a lot of real life incidents and everything. It's top notch. It was chef's kiss for space program. I enjoyed more the space aspect of the book rather than her personal life. I loved the niece part also. The niece part and the space part were really good. The love life is good too. It all boils down to love. That is what the book is about. It's really good. I highly recommend you to check that one out. I don't have a physical copy. I read it as an audiobook. I intend to buy it and keep it in my shelf just because I loved it so much. So I have only 4 more books to talk to you about, and the 4 books I don't have much thoughts on it because I did not like it so much, or it was okay, something like that. And the first one is called The Lord of Flies by William Golding. It is a classic book, and it is about a group of guys who end up in an island, and they form a government of their own. They at first they enjoy their freedom, and later they try to find a kind of governance. Like someone has to tell them what to do. At first they'll be very free and happy and things, and after some time they desperately want someone to tell them what to do because they don't know, they can't handle stuff. It's something like that. It has a lot of metaphors, and it has a lot of symbology in it. which was kind of a hard thing for me to read. It is not an enjoyable read. You have to sit with it, you have to enjoy it. You have to sit with it and you have to work a lot to enjoy this. So I did not enjoy this much. It's okayish read. I got the point, but not the best book I read. The next book that I read is a YA book once again. It's called Once Upon a Dream. It's a twisted tale and it's by Liz Braswel. And she writes a lot of YA books based on the fairy tales, giving it a twist. And in this, the Sleeping Beauty, it's about Sleeping Beauty. And when the prince comes and kisses her, she does not wake up. That's the twist. She's sleeping still. She has to save herself. And it's all about how she stands for herself and how she, comes out of that sleep. She goes into a dream in that sleep and a lot of things happen in that dream. She fights for it, she stands for herself, and she literally saves herself, not waiting for any random prince to come and kiss her and save her. And that was good. I enjoyed it. It's not very memorable book. Like, I won't be remembering this book for a long time to come, but while I read it, I had good time. It was good. Maybe sometime if you want to have a lighter read, you can check this one. Okay, we have come to the end of this video. I want to talk to you about only two books. Both the books are the last book of a trilogy, fantasy trilogy. The first one is The Winter of the Witch, and that is the third book in the Winter Night trilogy written by Katherine. And the other book is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. I'm sorry. Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. That is the part of the Shadow and the Bone series. Both of them are the finale. I have read the other two books in both the series 2 or 3 years back. I wanted to finish the series. It has been on my TBR for so long, but I did not get to it. When finally I got it, I got a closure for the series and nothing more. I enjoyed reading Ruin and Rising. I enjoyed reading Mal and Nikolai, and that world was really good. I liked Ruin and Rising more than The Winter of the Witch, I should say. The Winter of the Witch was also equally fantastical. It gave me all the wintry feels, and they both gave me the satisfaction of finishing a series. I'm really glad that I finally finished reading the Shadow and the Bone series and the Winter Night trilogy. It has been in my TBR for I don't know how long, but I am happy that I finished it. And I cannot tell my thoughts about both the books without spoiling it, so I'm stopping myself from saying what it is. If you are looking for some good fantasy books to read, to binge, you should read the Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Winter Night trilogy. Both are really so good. So good in the sense that the world building, the atmosphere, everything is top notch. Both of them are really good writers, and that's about it. So that's about it, guys. These are all the books that I read from the month of July to October. And I don't think I will be reading more books in the November and December. So this is the last wrap up, I think, for this year. So because I'm going to be very busy with work. What are the books that you have read? Do recommend me all the books that you read and loved and enjoyed. Please write them all on the comment section down below. I'd love to know. I'd love to chat with you guys. So until I see you again in a very next video with a bookish content, this is Sushmita signing off. Keep reading. Bye-bye.